Hi, everybody. My name is Denise Agosto. We're so happy that you came today to the first of our two webinars discussing the job outlook in the information fields during the current pandemic and the expected economic outlook for the future. Today, we have two guests who are going to talk to us. We have Stephanie Pharo. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Pharo, great. Stephanie Pharo, who is with Human Resources in the city of Philadelphia. And this is my first time meeting you, Stephanie. So thank you. I'm so happy that you're here.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're also expecting Brook Freeman, the
Mhm.
South Philadelphia cluster leader of the Free Library, to join us as well. So,
I'm here.
oh, yay, wonderful. Okay. This is great. So happy to have you here, and it's lovely to meet you as well. Everybody say welcome. Here we have Stephanie and Brooke. So which of you would like to speak first to tell us about your perspective on what's going on and any ideas or suggestions you might have for our students, many of whom will be graduating soon with their master's degrees and will soon be looking for jobs?
Do you want to go first, Stephanie?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Brooke. So, as you may know, the Free Library of Philadelphia is, I believe, the 13th largest library system in the United States. It's a very dynamic and comprehensive system. I'm very happy to be a part of it. As some of you may know, with the COVID pandemic, the city of Philadelphia, I'm not sure if you had heard on any of the mayor's addresses or anything like that, is incurring a hiring freeze. But with that said, I'm here to provide you with hopefully some tools and things like that to help you navigate that and stay abreast of everything that the Free Library is doing, because we are very hopeful that once we can get back up and running, that we will do so. Okay. So one thing I will say is if this was a normal year and there was no pandemic, what we would normally be doing is we hire our library 1 and 2 positions, usually concurrently with the ALA conference and the ALA midwinter conference. So that's a timeline that you can look out for. And of course, Brooke, if you feel that you want to jump in, feel free to, okay?
Yeah, I can certainly talk about the process and what it is like to get hired and some of the stuff after that. But the HR perspective is better from you.
Perfect. Okay, great. So what I will say is, I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with the civilian service process at the city of Philadelphia. So what that means is you will, to obtain a position at the city of Philadelphia in the civilian service space, you would fill out an application online at ohr.phila.gov/ohr. And then our positions, we require that each candidate take an assessment based on the knowledge, skills, and abilities of our library classes. These tests are built out by subject matter experts in the library and consultants in the field as well. So that is kind of the brief overview of that. But I know that I mentioned that we're on a hiring freeze right now, but I'd really like to give you a tool if you haven't already heard about this or filled it out. It's called the Job Interest Card. Has anyone heard of the job interest card for the city of Philadelphia? Okay, so I'm gonna, and I can send this out to if you all want, but if everyone has a pen and paper, I just want to go through the quick ins and outs of the job interest card, right? So the job interest card, what that will do is the second the city opens a library position, you'll get a notification right to your email. I think you might also be able to get it texted. Please don't quote me on that, but where you can fill out the job interest card is phila.gov/personnel/jobs, or you're welcome to Google job interest cards, City of Philadelphia. Okay, and when you get to the page, there'll be a letter box and it'll say job interest notifications. You'll click on the little symbol that says job interests, and there it will bring you to a whole grouping of classification or jobs that we have, right? So you are welcome to set up, thank you. Crush it. Thank you. Yes, so you could fill that out, and then in the box here, you can you can search keywords, library, anything like that, and you can make as many job interest cards as you would like. Okay, so Brooke is demonstrating this here.
This is the one that the two that you want are the two right here, librarian 1 and 2.
Yes, correct.
They are always offered together, and you get into one of those or the others depending on the amount of experience you have.
Correct. Yep, and then you would click that, and then you move forward, you enter your information, and then that will go right to whatever device you choose. And this is the specification.
Yeah, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to see where, oh, it's the
little feather.
It's the little feather right over here.
Thank you for bringing this up, Brooke.
Yeah.
Yep, and then you enter this in here as Brooke is showing you.
And then you would hit submit.
You would hit submit there.
Yeah.
And then you will be receiving any correspondence about librarian 1. And again, you can do this as many times as you want in the positions that you see are fit for you. So even if you're looking at another class, maybe it's more administrative, browse all the positions and set up the job interest cards that you think apply to you. Okay. So that's something that I think is important, because then that'll notify you as soon as possible when we are up and back running at full capacity and ready to onboard new folks, okay? And I know I mentioned that we are in a hiring freeze, but I'm not sure if any of you saw Mayor Kenny's press release, and his priorities are to keep libraries and recreation centers operating. So that's really good, and that allows us to continue providing our services. Brooke, do you want to talk a little bit about your perspective, and I can chime in on any more technical?
Sure. The one I wanted to say one more thing about the jobs site is that you do want to go look up job class specifications rather than searching the big search box, which is right here, because that only searches jobs that are currently being advertised.
Okay.
So if you type librarian in here, it says nothing is found because we're not currently searching for librarians. So the process for getting hired, city hiring is not quick. I interviewed at ALA midwinter, and I had literally forgotten about the interview, the test, when they called me at Thanksgiving that year. The lists last for 2 years. So it can be a while. Taking the test sets you up to be hired by us anytime in the next 2 years. There's a lot of city hiring is complicated, and it is not the normal process that you would see at other places where you go, you send in a resume and you go in for an interview. That test is very important.
Right.
Can I talk about the format of that, Stephanie? Because it trips so many people up.
Yes, you're welcome to talk about the format of it, but of course not about the content.
Right, of course. So the test is several broad, open-ended questions about librarianship. And you get a period of time to answer those. And it's not an interview. There's no back and forth between you and the people sitting across the table from you. It's just the questions, and then you talk. And we want to hear as many of your thoughts about those questions as you can give us in the time that you're allotted.
Right.
I see a lot of people go, "Oh, I've answered the question," and we're like, "You've been talking for 30 seconds."
Right.
We want to hear everything you have to say.
Right.
After that, the interview, the hiring process looks a little more normal. There is a more traditional interview where we then decide who it is that we want to hire following the civil service guidelines.
Right.
Beyond that, once you're onboarded, you end up getting assigned a location as a librarian. The majority of our positions are in an individual branch where you would be working with one other librarian as your supervisor and a team of library assistants.
Right.
You would typically get assigned to either children's or adult teen. And you would be responsible for collection development, reader's advisory, reference, programming in that whole area. We are chronically in need of children's librarians. It's always harder to fill the children's librarians positions. After a period of time, you automatically promote to librarian 2. That's complicated and bureaucratic, but it happens automatically. During the first 6 months that you are with the city, you're on probation and you're being evaluated by your supervisor. And the hope is that you pass that and then you have permanent civil service status. After a period of, I believe it's 3 years, once you have 3 years with the city, you can apply to be a supervisor, where you would be the branch manager in one of those branches, supervising a team of, call it 10 people. There are other positions in the city. We have 3 regional libraries where there are actual subject departments, and they have like 6 to 10 librarians. Is it 10 or is it down to 8 at Northeast Regional? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, something like that. And then there's Central, where there are specialized departments. And I don't know how many librarians, a lot of librarians. Many people who have subject specialty backgrounds want to get into those departments, so it can be hard to become the music librarian or something like that, because there's probably somebody already in that position. So if you're angling for that, you may be waiting a while. So looking at some of these questions that have come in, I don't know if Stephanie will know, because I know she's new to her current position. I don't know how many are available in a regular year, but we've got something like 150 librarians between L1s, L2s, and library supervisors.
Right.
And so we attrit a number of those every year. There is a constant churn because of life events and retiring, people moving, spouses moving, all that sort of stuff. So it's a fair number every year. I don't know if Stephanie can get more specific than that.
Sure. So this is just an example of last year's hiring. I believe we onboarded 28 librarians from the ALA, and then some additional also from the midwinter. So that's just a rough number, but again, that changes with retention rates and things like that. Brooke, I don't know if you...
That was, last year was high, I will say
right.
that.
I will, thank you. And I will say we were really pushing to fill a lot of open vacancies. So that is a little bit of a higher number, but I'm sure we can pull up some data on, the historical averages. And then I see another question here. Is the test taken at ALA? Yes, it is taken at ALA. You can, so let me back up. You can take it at ALA if you're going to be at ALA and you're going to be on site and you have the passes and you're registered and everything like that. Say your organization doesn't fund you to go to ALA or you can't get there. There are other days very close to that ALA date that you could head to the City of Philadelphia Municipal Services Building and take the examination there. So it has been your choice in the past.
We also don't know what it was going to look like with the new ALA Midwinter experience, whatever ALA comes up with to replace Midwinter after it goes away.
Right.
We don't know how that will affect our hiring.
Right.
In terms of offering it at additional times.
Right.
There is not an obligatory retirement age.
Mm-hmm.
There are minimum ages to start collecting your retirement benefits, but you do not have to retire when you hit those dates.
Right, absolutely. And then let's see. Right, and speaking about retirement and things like that, the City of Philadelphia does have a very generous package of vacation, health benefits. Some organizations offer a little bit of flexibility. We do have 457 plans, and obviously after 10 years, you are eligible to vest for a pension. And again, I will say, I think the health benefits are really generous, especially coming from an HR standpoint, looking at other organizations in the area, private, public, they are very generous.
The health plan on the DC 47 union side is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Having previously been on it and now being on the cities, I was happier with this unions.
But I think both are very competitive in comparison.
Yeah, my quibbles with the city are minor.
Right.
Copays are higher, and there's some weird stuff with dental.
Yes.
And some irksome requirements about reporting health statistics. But the union doesn't require that, and all of the librarian positions would fall in that category.
Oh, and I love this question from Deborah. Great question about city residency, which is something I was going to speak about because it is very important for everyone applying to really understand. So in an open competitive examination, it is important that you are a Philly resident, but if you're not a Philly resident, and you do perform well on the test and we do extend an offer to you, you will have 1 year to obtain the Philadelphia city residency, and you will need to maintain that for the longevity of your career with the city of Philadelphia. And unfortunately, it is not something that we can really negotiate. There have unfortunately been times where people have come on board, they're here with us in Philly for 2 to 3 years, and then maybe they go to, they move to Morristown, New Jersey, or they go across to Ben Franklin, and then unfortunately we do have to separate from those employees.
There have been some pretty high profile positions. I think there was a director of the airport that got fired for not living in the city. About a decade ago. Mm-hmm. So it's a law that we take pretty seriously.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So and I didn't think that people got any preference for having lived in the city. It's just, or living in the city. It's just that you have to move in with that within a year of being hired.
Right. Absolutely.
Let's see, other stuff about working as a librarian. Let me answer this question. Let's answer this question. So the people who were on the list from January, that the lists are active for 2 years.
2 years, yep.
So that'll be active through something like February or March of 2022.
Right. So, you know, we don't have the timeline of when we'll be able to hire again, but, you know, I do predict it, and I'm hopeful that it'll be before that time period. And I do predict that they will go back to those lists as they are required to, as they're open for 2 years.
Yep. The entire city is under a hiring freeze. So even though even if there are positions with the system, that aren't with the library system from the city that would be appropriate for an MLIS, they're not hiring either at the moment. There are probably, depending on your specialty, there are probably things with the city with OIT, the Office of Information. Is it Information and Technology? They're the people who do the.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a different city department. They deal with all of the city's technology infrastructure. There are probably things in that department that you might qualify for if you have other computer skills. Parks and Rec has a lot of historic houses, but often they are not hiring full-time for the people who work at those. Those are mostly part-time positions. Other than that, I'm not thinking of anything that would be typical library that I'm aware of with the city.
It would also depend on you know, what, you know, sometimes positions just require a bachelor's degree, so maybe you could get into like a management trainee position or something, doing general work based on your undergrad degree and things like that. So that's always an option. So I you know, I recommend that when you're filling out the job interest card, you also look at the management trainee position as well. That's our very entry level management operations role. And then you can branch out from there to other different types of positions.
Clerk 1, everyone who's got an MLIS would qualify for that.
Right.
Yes, currently librarians are working from home. I'm working right now. I am sitting in my personal library.
It's awesome.
And so we've got staff that are currently creating story times, creating guided learning platforms on different topics. I just had a meeting this morning with the people in Brook, the Business Resource and Innovation Center at Central, where they were talking about all of their all of the instruction and help things that they're creating to help to get us as administrators to promote that to the other librarians so that they can help people use those to do job finding and business creation in this time. People are catching up on all sorts of online trainings, doing deep dives into our databases. People are taking classes through our human resources department. I actually took one just last week over Zoom. And I suspect there's some other ones that are going to be rescheduled that way. We're working on getting a phone reference up and running. Hopefully that's coming soon. We're talking about under what conditions we could go to curbside pickup, but that requires the Philadelphia County going significantly up the alert level. But we will not be back in the branches for a while. So we're doing as much as we can from home. A lot of people, it's basically all through social media.
And that's also something that is citywide. I mean, unless you're you're an essential personnel, or you are a laborer or something like that, where you have to be in the office, you have to be on site. A lot of people are working from home. I'm working from home in the HR capacity. I did go in a couple days to do some things that I needed to do in the office. But again, as Brooke said, we're really trying to stay virtual right now.
Yeah,
Mayor's orders.
I've been into the office on one day since the middle of March, because we had to help distribute paychecks, but that was it.
Right.
Everything else has been virtual. I may go in one more day to pick some things up that are in my office that I need with some special finagling, but that would be, for an hour, and the rest of it's all from home.
So I can speak to this question about the pass fail grades. Really, what we are going to the City of Philadelphia Office of Human Resources, they're going to look at your degree, but they're definitely not going to hold against you the term pass fail, especially due to the pandemic and in general. They are a very their job is to make sure that you've received the degree, and that's really what they're looking for. So I understand the pass fail. Some people are very concerned about that. I've had that question before, but I know it is not, absolutely not an issue at all.
We care about whether you have the MLIS degree.
Yes, in short, yes. And of course, when it comes to that interviewing portion, just making sure that your knowledge, skills, and abilities match, and that your vision also matches the mission of the Free Library of Philadelphia.
Oh, I just thought of one other thing that we should mention about the hiring. If you fluently speak another language, there's a bilingual test for that that would get you some extra preference in getting hired. Because we're always looking for people that speak Spanish, that speak Russian, that speak Chinese, that speak Vietnamese. Any of the communities that we have a large native speaking population in the city, we are always exceedingly interested in hiring the people who are fluent in those languages.
And
I can't answer. I speak English only. I took Latin in school because I'm terrible at pronunciation, and I didn't have a language lab with Latin, so I can't answer that question.
Sure. So I've actually had experience administering and creating the bilingual exams, and yes, they are oral exams. What happens is you'll come in, you'll do the test, and then usually two people that speak that specific language will be on the panel grading you, or what you'll do is you'll take the test on a recorder, and they will later listen and grade based on a pass-fail rubric. That process is very short.
Okay. Africa, the regular civil service test is also oral. You're given the questions, you get time to read them and mentally prepare. You come into a room with what are we called? The raters.
Yes.
And the questions are read, you answer. The next question is read, you answer, and it's recorded, and we score you on a rubric.
Yes.
And it is a very, I cannot emphasize enough how weird it is to sit in a room talking to someone who can't answer questions and cannot talk to you. Be mentally prepared for that. I've seen too many people come in and just get really weirded out by not having the interviewers, because we're not interviewers, we're raters. We're administering a test. We don't interact. We don't ask your name, none of that. You're a number. And if we know you, like if I was on the panel, I would say I know Erin Carney because she used to report to me, and I would not be on the panel grading her.
Right. And we do this to make sure the process is the absolute most equitable that it can possibly be. we work day in and day out to make sure that it is an equitable process. And someone who has worked behind the scenes, I can pledge that it is a very equitable process. We are in the first stages simply measuring with an assessment your knowledge, skills, and abilities to perform the position.
Katrina, certainly not with the city of Philadelphia. Other places it might be a problem, but I mean, there's what, 20 million people unemployed right now? Yeah. There's going to be gaps on everybody's resume during this time.
Absolutely.
Yes, Arabic would count. Arabic would be of interest.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in a library up in the Northeast that had a fairly large Arabic-speaking population. They didn't want to read the books that were in Arabic that I had, but it certainly would have been helpful to have an Arabic speaker who could talk to them.
Okay. Let's see, are there any other questions that we can answer? And of course, if you do have any questions, I'm happy to provide my email, or if you'd like to provide my email, I'm happy to do that. Let's see.
I can take that.
Perfect.
Yeah. Finish up what you're saying, and I'll talk about that.
Oh yeah. So, you know, feel free to contact me with any questions. And again, job interest cards. And if you'd like to set up sending over your contacts and things like that, so that way we can also do the additional step of saying, hey, you know, in a month and a half, we are going to be hiring, so that you can prepare a little bit before for the job interest card, because we really want to make sure we're engaging you and providing you all the information that we can provide you for you to be successful in obtaining a career with the Free Library of Philadelphia.
So, for the digital virtual offerings, certainly for the next period of time, that's where everything is going to be. Mm-hmm. And we expect that there is going to be a significant portion of our population which is uncomfortable coming into an environment that lots of people are in and out of for a long time. And that means that part of our plan for the future is, how do we engage, how do we do outreach to those communities that don't want to, are uncomfortable coming into our space. What that's going to look like, we don't know. People that are interested in developing things in that environment would be someone I would love to have on my team right now. Mm-hmm. I suspect that some of the investigation that we're doing into the phone answering right now will continue for a long time, allowing us to farm questions out to a larger portion of our staff rather than just the people at a specific number. Virtual reference is surprisingly not in high demand right now. We've been a little surprised that the numbers have not spiked. The usage of our digital resources has gone through the roof. Mm-hmm. We don't know what things will look like in the future, but I suspect that there will be more digital engagement. That also leads us to being very, very concerned about diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI issues, because we know there is a substantial percentage of Philadelphia residents that do not have reliable high-speed internet access, which makes getting to a lot of those resources problematic. And that's one of the reasons we're trying to get phone service up and running, is to reach people that can telephone us but can't get on email due to technology or skill reasons or cost reasons. Mm-hmm. So yes, to answer your question, online gaming presence, I believe I know a couple of our branches have started online Minecraft stuff for the kids from their branch. They're not being hugely advertised because there's a limit on the number of concurrent users And it's mainly for the people who had already been engaged with that library. Several of our places had Minecraft gaming clubs already. I know of at least one branch that's doing an online role-playing game. So there's lots of stuff, but we have not moved into like hosting gaming tournaments or anything like that. I haven't seen what Houston's doing, so I don't know what's specific there. Going to ALA, not knowing what positions are being recruited. So ALA puts out a list of who the people are that are doing recruiting. And if you see Philadelphia, we'll be there. And the test will also be will be advertised on the phila.gov/jobs page. And if you have that job interest card filled out, you would get the email notification that it's coming. The one other thing to remember about that is we typically only have that open for about 2 weeks.
2 weeks only.
So when that goes up, you've got 2 weeks to apply, and then you're locked out until whenever we offer that test again.
Can you apply and be considered for positions just before your anticipated graduation date, or do you first have to graduate? Can you take it
Yes, you can take the test before you finish your degree. There's always a timeline cutoff. Is it 3 months, Stephanie?
Usually, I believe it's 6 months anticipated eligibility. I think we have done 9 before, but I believe it's 6 months anticipated eligibility. I would have to double check that, but the answer is yes, there is, because we do want to capture those people that will be graduating, within a year or so.
Yeah, but you can't be hired. You can't be interviewed. The second step can't happen until you have the degree.
Correct. You would need to show proof of your degree before being as we call, certified out to the departments for hire.
Right. I don't know that, Ellen Goodman, I don't know the exact timeline. It would basically be like right before ALA or concurrent with ALA.
Right. Yeah, and it usually, in the past, it has actually, the application period actually did this past year run during ALA. So because sometimes people in the past have came to ALA and didn't know about it, and then we could kind of test them and sign them up on site. But we do recommend that you apply in advance, so that way you can pick at the time and the schedule that works best for you.
I had not applied for Philadelphia before I did, but that was 15 years ago. So that was a very different world. I assumed some things from my hiring process that are no longer true. Like, I did my interview by phone, and when I mentioned that at a recent thing, they were all like, "You did it by phone? That's not legal anymore." And I'm like, "It was when I got hired."
Right.
But that's because I was in Indiana, and so they didn't want to fly me out for the interview.
Okay.
But I'd been at Katrina. I'd been at New Orleans ALA midwinter right after Katrina, which was an experience and a half. Drexel has changed the degree to an MS. I don't think that would make any difference, Stephanie. The question that Jane just asked.
Sure. So it really shouldn't make a difference. Usually when OHR is screening people, they're just looking to make sure that, you have a substantial amount of credits in library science, in an MS. They're looking for MLIS, but the people there and the analysts there are trained to know that an MS with a major in an MS in information with a major in library science, I doubt that they would flag that. I think that they would be trained well to accept that degree.
And as long as it's still ALA accredited, it should be.
That's the thing. It is ALA accredited, so good to go. It needs to be accredited.
The one other piece that I want to talk about in terms of working for the free library is that we have a big push right now for community engagement, which is more than just traditional outreach. It means that we want to be actively engaged with the communities which we are serving. and so that's a two-way street. So it's not just coming out and sitting at a table and saying, hey, come check out the library. It's actively getting involved with community organizations. We're coming up on the end of a massive IMLS grant where we're going to have run 16 cohorts of like 30 people each through a 4-day training process about community engagement. That curriculum is going to be, after we're done, is going to be promulgated out to the whole library community in North America. We've partnered with multiple other library systems to test it in a variety of other environments, Shippensburg, a couple in Canada. And so from the administrative point of view, we're really looking to make the Free Library of Philadelphia a part of our community and not just the place people go to get books. Right. So if that sounds exciting to you, this is going to be a good place to come to, because it's a huge way that we're pushing toward right now. So any other questions?
Well, you pretty much answered my main question. I was going to ask about broader implications of the pandemic on library services, but I think you gave a beautiful overview of what's going on and what you see as the future vision. Any other insights or broader perspectives?
I want to grab a document. Let me see if I can grab a document real quick. Where did that get linked? Oh, that got linked there. I will send it to you afterwards. It would take me longer than I want to. That's about what it's going to take to reopen and what it looks like to reopen from the state, from the state library, from OCL. The state library organization that oversees all the public libraries. I'm blanking on their name right now. Terrible of me. They have a big document about what it's going to look like for us to reopen, and we're having those conversations right now at the administration and with my branch heads level daily. When are we going to be able to open up X chunk of libraries? What X piece of our libraries? And the answer is not for a while. Are we going to be able to offer one-on-one extended reference and computer help? Yeah, the same face that Denise is making is that that a lot of my staff are making when we talk about that. When are we going to be open up our programming rooms, our meeting rooms to programming again? It's going to be a while before we can have groups of 30 plus people in a room for an hour or two. So we're going to be having to be very creative about how we offer those services, particularly to the portions of our population which are less technologically connected, which is one of the things that really hurts a lot of my librarians, is that we know the people that were relying on the library for their computer access are not getting that, and that really has us worried about the individuals who that was their lifeline, that was their connection to email, that was their connection to the wider web, and we're worried about what they're doing at home because we don't see them. We haven't seen them in a couple of months.
Especially with schooling going online, that just furthers the rift in educational disparity.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And while all of those Chromebooks are great, they're only helpful if you have reliable internet access at home. And the adults to help you through that. I've got 3 kids.
Wow.
1 in high school, 2 in elementary school, and the school that they go to is a specialized school, and their school has been so on top of this And it's still a daily struggle, which takes a large chunk of my day to help them do the stuff that they need to do. I'm not teaching them. I'm not creating a lesson plan. All I'm doing is helping them focus and get to the stuff that they need to and solve their technological problems. And I can't imagine what that would be like if I was not as tech savvy with as many connected devices as in our house as we have. I mean, I'm a two librarian household. And that's part of why I mentioned the parks, is my wife works for one of the historic houses in the city as a librarian. So
jealous.
Well, it's a part-time job. It's not it's not a salary you can live on without another full, because it's only about 10 hours a week. But
still jealous.
So that we're very, very concerned about that. We don't have answers to that right now, and we don't know what that's going to look like next year. We don't know what our after-school homework help program is going to look like next year. There's a lot of, oh, we should be planning stuff that's going to happen in September, and we're like, we have no idea what's going to be happening in September. How can we be planning? I had to say that this morning in a meeting. They were like, what are we going to do for these meetings? They're supposed to happen in September. And I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen in June. How can I plan September? Let's talk about this again in July.
Right.
So I'm happy to field questions about the free library later. I don't know if Denise shared my work email, but I'm happy to answer that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for me, it's much more of the what's it like to work for the free library, not how do you get hired, because I'm not doing the behind the scenes stuff there. That's Stephanie.
Yes. So any HR hiring questions, feel free to field to me. Always happy to answer anything that I can. And be a resource for Drexel. And hopefully this is the continuation of a good working relationship between the free library and the Drexel program.
Yay, we'll take it.
Yes, absolutely. I'm really passionate about connecting with, local universities. It's very important. Your program at Drexel is awesome. We've gotten a lot of really great people. And I hear a lot of really great things. So thank you for.
I love going to the different libraries at the free library because inevitably I bump into one of my former students.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah. So
thank you guys so much. This was hugely helpful and interesting getting to hear from you. So we are so grateful. Thank you.
Of course. And of course, reach out with us anytime. Brooke and I are happy to help.
Oh, thank you for coming in.
Of course. Thank you all so much for spending the hour with us. And have a good day, okay?
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome. Bye, Brooke.
Bye, Stephanie. Nice to talk to you.
Yes, great to chat with you too. Bye.
And if anybody's interested, we have one more session. It will be Friday at 3:00 Eastern with an archivist, an academic librarian, and oops, I just forgot the other one, if anybody remembers. The State Librarian of Delaware. So I'm very excited about Friday too. Hopefully it will be as high quality as this program was. Thank you, everybody.
I just found the link that I was looking for.
Oh, I'm dying to get my hands on that one.
So let me toss it in here.
Thank you, Brooke.
Yep. It's like, oh, let me start looking for this. And I found it on one web search. So that's the reopening framework document from the Office of Commonwealth Libraries.
Excellent. We will go over this in class tomorrow.
Yeah. So that's mainly about the very specific steps that they're expecting from us about what we can do, what activities are acceptable during the different phases.
Excellent.
So more short-term than the long-term question, but still important.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.